While all the creatures in the forest were frantically running about and anxiously fighting to survive the long winter, no one could have imagined that the little life, always slow and fond of rolling on the grass, would ultimately become the mountain range's sole salvation in the darkness. He spent nearly his entire life in dreams and rolling, yet at life's heaviest moment, with an innocent hug of a leg, he dissolved the deepest resentment in the entire valley. Tonight, accompanied by the faintly flickering firelight and this story which requires no effort to remember, let us step together into his true life. This giant panda cub, called Xiao Tuanzi by everyone, is at this moment lying on his back on a bluestone slab covered with fallen golden ginkgo leaves, emitting soft breaths. His round body is like a freshly cooked glutinous rice ball, and his black and white fur appears exceptionally soft and warm under the late autumn moonlight. Many people only see his naive charming helplessness when relying on elders, and his clumsiness when left behind by companions because his movements are too slow. Yet no one understands what kind of ultimate restraint, having seen through life and death yet still choosing innocence, is hidden deep within Xiao Tuanzi's dark, bright eyes, which always appear ignorant, innocent, and clear as water. Night dew begins to slowly condense on the tips of the grass, and in that quietest late night, he habitually hugged his small head with his two short, plump paws. As if in this small posture, he could forever keep those warm figures who had wandered off over the long years within his dreamscape, which contained absolutely no impurities. That was the sad season called foggy month, when the mist shrouding the cloud mountains began to emit a suffocating ghostly blue color, a sign that ancient resentful spirits were about to awaken. The atmosphere in the valley became unusually oppressive, birds no longer sang, and the usually gentle elks began to kick and bite each other due to the fear in their hearts, as the entire forest slid toward the brink of destruction. Just when the most powerful spirit deer and black panther in the forest decided to abandon this land and prepare to migrate with their entire clans, Xiao Tuanzi was forgotten by his companions in the panic beneath an ancient ginkgo tree. At that time, upon a pile of jagged rocks, stood a colossal shadow monster, several zhang tall and emitting bone-chilling cold, condensed from the resentment of countless giant beasts who had died in battle. Wherever the monster passed, vegetation instantly withered, even hard rocks were frozen with fine cracks, and the entire world at this moment seemed to have only complete destruction and death remaining. Xiao Tuanzi was awoken by a gust of violent, sinister wind. He rubbed his somewhat sleepy eyes, looked at this terrifying colossal monster capable of scaring any creature to death, yet he did not flee. Perhaps because his body was simply too fat and his movement simply too slow, or perhaps because he simply did not know what fear meant, he merely turned over slowly and then rolled gulu-gulu down the slope toward the monster. In that deep night when all creatures held their breath and were filled with endless despair, this small, round black and white figure became the sole patch of different color on the desolate earth. He ultimately stopped beside the monster's incredibly massive foot, which was composed entirely of cold crushed stones and black resentful energy, his movement as gentle as a fallen leaf dropping into a deep pool. The shadow monster emitted a low, deep roar like thunder, the sound causing the surrounding cliffs to shed. Pusususu, it slowly raised its giant foot, preparing to trample this little life into dust. However, not only did Xiao Tuanzi not avoid it, but instead, like he was acting spoiled usually, he extended his two short, plump forepaws and extremely skillfully and tightly hugged the monster's thick, stone pillar-like ankle. He pressed his fluffy, warm little head against the bone-chilling cold rock and, habitually, also used his chubby body to lightly and slowly rub against it. A life aura, unique to giant panda cubs and mixing bamboo leaf fragrance with the warmth of the soil, passed defenselessly along those small paws into the monster's massive body, which was composed of countless resentments. Those maddened souls, tortured for hundreds and thousands of years by war and betrayal, upon contacting this ultimate simplicity and warmth, actually generated a strange stillness in an instant. The monster's raised giant foot was suspended in mid-air, actually unable to fall for a long time. Black resentful energy violently rolled and struggled upon its body's surface, as if two forces were tearing at it frantically. Xiao Tuanzi completely did not know what kind of danger he was in. He merely felt that although this big stone in front of him was very cold, it could help him block that gust of cold wind from the mountain pass that made people shiver uncontrollably. He emitted a lazy and satisfied soft sound, and subsequently, actually right beside that colossal monster capable of destroying him at any moment, he slowly closed his eyes and fell fast asleep. The silence extended endlessly in the pitch-black night, and the originally violent wind and snow suddenly became gentle at this moment, scattered snowflakes fell upon his black and white ears and did not melt. When dawn's first faint ray of sunlight pierced through the heavy clouds and mist, somewhat with difficulty shining into this desolate valley floor, the sight before them left those animals secretly hiding in the distance and peering speechless with shock. That shadow monster, which originally symbolized destruction and death, was at this moment maintaining a strange posture of kneeling on one knee, half of its body having already transformed back into ordinary mountain stone. And its giant stone hand was maintaining an extremely protective and extremely careful curve, tightly blocking above Xiao Tuanzi, shielding him from the early morning's somewhat piercing sunlight. Xiao Tuanzi had slept for an entire night in the cold stone forest and now finally opened his eyes slowly, letting out a big yawn that revealed a row of pink gums. He released the leg he had held all night, and instead, somewhat curiously extended a small paw, gently touching the two tear tracks on the monster's face formed by lava, which were now completely cooled and dried up. Following his touch, the last black resentful energy on the monster's body completely transformed into a warm spring breeze, blowing away the ghostly blue mist that had shrouded the cloud mountains for months. Large areas of golden ginkgo leaves rustled down in the wind, susu, paving the originally blood-filled and ruinous battlefield into a golden carpet that felt soft to step upon. Xiao Tuanzi sat up somewhat dazedly amidst the patch of gold, an exceptionally loud gulu sound coming from his stomach. He began to search everywhere for those tender bamboo leaves capable of filling his belly. He completely did not know that he had just saved the fate of the entire mountain range with a session of defenseless sleep. To him, this was merely a morning, which was somewhat underslept, completely without any difference from usual. After the crisis passed, the forest resumed its former prosperity and tranquility, and the migrated clans also returned one after another to this fertile valley re-illuminated by sunlight. All the animals regarded Xiao Tuanzi as a supreme hero. The peacocks wove a mattress for him made from the most magnificent feathers, and the squirrels filled his bamboo basket every day with the plumpest, sweetest dried fruits. But Xiao Tuanzi seemed completely uninterested in these honors and flattery. He still lived beneath his old ginkgo tree, spending every day either practicing rolling on the grass or lying in a rattan chair soaking up the sun. Only one thing had changed, which was that he became even more fond of hugging other people's legs than before. Whether it was a passing old mountain goat or a little monkey coming to deliver fruit, they would all be tightly hugged by him in one go. Many young animals did not understand, thinking this was merely a cub habit he couldn't shake. Some companions even felt he was somewhat excessively dependent on others this way, lacking the majesty and independence a hero should possess. Only the old panda, who kept silent vigil over him late at night, knew that Xiao Tuanzi was using this clumsy method to perceive the body temperature of every companion, confirming they were still well and alive, not having disappeared in the wind and snow. Because in that encounter which saved the world, although he dissolved the resentful spirit's hatred, a substantial part of that bone-chilling cold chi of the 9 netherworlds still remained forever in his young body. His limbs would pain as if pierced by ice needles every late night. He had to keep rolling and holding on to living beings possessing warmth in order to keep his gradually cooling heart beating. He never complained to anyone, nor did he ever display his wounds, merely using that eternally simple, innocent smile to tolerate all the world's misunderstandings and apathy. Time flowed slowly by as the ginkgo tree leaves turned yellow 5 times. Xiao Tuanzi's body did not grow stronger day by day like his other companions, but instead became more and more lethargic, his waking hours becoming shorter and shorter. On an evening in the last late autumn, a fine and cold autumn rain began to fall in the sky, and the entire grand forest was shrouded in a layer of faint, somewhat sentimental gray smoke. Xiao Tuanzi emitted a somewhat painful murmur in his sleep. The cold energy within his body had on this day completely spread to his chest, and every breath he took began to exhale faint white frost. Somewhat with difficulty, he crawled off his beloved rattan chair, without alarming any companions guarding outside the door, merely shifting slowly and frequently looking back towards that colossal, ancient ginkgo tree. He exhausted the last strength in his entire body to once again extend a pair of somewhat trembling short, plump paws and tightly hug the rough, thick trunk of this ancient tree which had guarded the mountain range for thousands of years. The patterns upon the bark were very deep, resembling extremely closely the skin of that colossal shadow monster back then, and also resembling extremely closely his mother's broad back filled with a sense of security, making him feel incomparably steady and at ease. Countless pieces of golden ginkgo tree leaves in the autumn rain seemed to receive some kind of summons, starting to drift down in large patches from the high branches, gently covering Xiao Tuanzi's black and white body. Looking from afar, he was as though he had returned once more to that early morning when he dissolved the resentful spirit, his round body completely enveloped by a layer of a thick, golden, and warm blanket. Xiao Tuanzi leaned against the trunk, burying his little head deeply within the golden leaf cluster, listening to the soil deep down steady and powerful heartbeat belonging to Mother Earth. His consciousness began to become light as a feather, and those icy colds and piercing pains which had tortured him for countless black nights at this moment finally receded completely, transforming into a warm spring dream from which he would never awaken. When the next day's dawn dissipated all the autumn rain and thick mist, and sunlight once again flooded the entire valley, the animals beneath the ginkgo tree only found a pile of golden yellow tree leaves maintaining an embracing posture. Xiao Tuanzi was gone, but upon that patch of earth where he had lain, a kind of small white flower which could emit a faint bamboo leaf fragrance and would never wither in winter had miraculously blossomed. From then on, the Cloud Mountains never again had any disaster caused by cold or fear, because that warmth belonging to Xiao Tuanzi had completely melted into every inch of soil here. Whenever late night arrives, as long as you feel weary, anxious, or lonely, please close your eyes and outline within your mind that round figure slowly rolling within golden yellow leaves. He told us with a lifetime of naive charming helplessness and restraint that although this world would occasionally become icy and cruel, as long as one still preserves a point of innocence within one's heart, one can melt all hard ice. At this very moment, the distant starry sky is emitting soft and serene starlight, and the breeze is gently brushing past your somewhat weary cheeks carrying bamboo leaf fragrance. That little, warm black and white elf might at this moment be in some softest corner of the world, having turned over slowly just like usual, continuing his sweet dreamscape. There is no need to go back to pondering those unknown tomorrows, nor any need to go back to reckoning those already past gains and losses. Now, it is time to allow yourself to completely relax. Good night, and may you, within this silent forest Xiao Tuanzi used a lifetime of gentleness to guard, lay down all defenses and have a warm, secure, and lingering sweet, long dream.